So welcome to our strategy day at Viable Cities. Olga Kordas, I'm program director for Viable Cities. And I'm so happy that you are here today because what we are going to do is to inspire and provoke each other in order to design the program together and co-create the program together. So what I'm going to talk now, probably it's not truth, and probably it's provoking, or probably you don't agree, but that's the meaning of that. So Viable Cities, our vision is that Sweden inspires and has a leading role in energy and climate transition through smart, sustainable cities, and why cities are important. Of course, we've heard so many presentations why cities are important. But if talk about inspiration, something that has happened recently is that we started or launched the KTH MIT Sensible Stockholm Lab, and then we had the pleasure in the Golden Hall of City Hall in Stockholm to meet Carlo Ratti from MIT, who, and his way to present why cities was probably the one that we've seen before. But I think it's a really good one. It's 2, 50, 75, 80, meaning that cities are like having only 2% of the space of the world. Approximately 50% of all people are living there. But then people in cities, we consume 75% of the world's resources. And then we meet 80%. 80% of all emissions are coming from cities. So that's why cities are important, and we need to have transitions in cities. However, when we are talking about smart, sustainable cities, we are taking the kind of a broader perspective. We are talking normally about smart cities or sustainable cities and communities, because we don't want to create this gap between the large cities and small villages. And we have projects that fund both the region Stockholm and the small eco-villages in Sweden. Okay, so in Sweden we are very good to work in so-called challenge-driven innovation. When we formulate the challenges of our society, as a climate, as poverty and others, but then we try to solve it. But now our program is looking for another, or experimenting with so-called mission-oriented research innovation, as a concept coming from Mariana Mazzucato, when instead of saying that, okay, now we need to combat climate, or we need to combat cancer, where we would have a visionary goal saying that, okay, but what is to be achieved and by when? And this is in order to get this directionality, intentionality, but also accountability and adaptability, because in Sweden we have people, or many people, they would support funding of research. If as a researcher I'm coming to municipality and region and say, oh, I'm coming from KTH, then many people would say, oh, good. I mean, now some clever person came. But in some other countries, it's really hard to say that, why do we invest in research innovation so much money? And it's much easier to communicate. It's because by year 2025, we would not have any child dead of this form of cancer. Or that we are creating, by year 2030, we will have a carbon neutral city with high quality of life for everybody within planetary boundaries. So it's easy to communicate, it can engage many and show the direction. Okay, so our mission is carbon neutral cities 2030, but then not without a good life for all within planetary boundaries. So I don't think we can decouple carbon action from the social action. That's why our philosophy for the program is a people-centered holistic approach to sustainable urban development, and we are looking at digitalization and citizen engagement as enablers together with others. Okay, back to inspiration. There are many people who inspire us. Some of them are here, as Dan and Lars, who will talk today. But we are also inspired by other colleagues, for example, Indy Johar from the Dark Metal Laboratories, whom we collaborate with. And what he wants to say here is that, okay, so we're doing a lot of actions, but actually, because of kind of no directionality, and because we are working very much on silos, trying to solve climate or health, or trying to solve a water problem without kind of putting this together and having like more system transformation approach, we have a strategic relevance gap. We're doing projects, we're doing programs, we're doing activities that would lead us somewhere, but not there we need to be. And we need to do something with this gap together. So in Viable Cities, we are not looking for product innovation or product innovation or service innovation. We are talking about transformative system change that are needed. And then, okay, for that, what we believe it's necessary is that, first of all, stories that are touching people's life, so people-centered approach, because if you don't feel that you are part of the story, then probably you would resist the change. So how can we make stories about carbon neutrality in a way that this would touch people's life if we are talking about climate through the health, for example, and other issues? Collaboration and co-creation very important. So we cannot work with those complex systems transformation through one ontology. So we need to co-create, we need to collaborate with different people. And actually what we are doing today, so we will talk about those complex system change. And then it's not only that we can design together solutions, but also we get empathic to each other and empathic to the problem. And this learning and empathy is very important when we try to solve problems. So scalability, replicability, and leverage, focus on impact is very important because we have so many projects that would stay as pilot or that would stay as a report. And we need to make one step back so that we have impact and scale up the results. And then this is my favorite here. And this is a little bit because of, yeah, they have some things with me. So I'm a researcher here at KTH. And then when you are as a researcher, what we are doing, we are hunting projects. Yeah? So we're hunting those projects on 2-3 years. And then it's not for sure, so we're publishing, but it's not for sure that we would continue this track and try to implement things or try to improve. So because it's not so that money are available in what we want to do, but so we try then to adapt to different calls and so on. So what is happening is that we've heard about so many projects and calls, and so we have a project on living labs here in Sweden, many of those. We have it in other European countries, and so what? So again, if thinking about Indy Johar is to think about those separated, fragmented projects as snowflakes. So we're trying to catch those snowflakes everywhere, those beautiful projects. We're catching them and they're melting in our arms. They're not getting implemented. They're not getting any kind of force for change. So if I give it to you, yeah. So what we need to do, we need to think project portfolio, and we need to think snowballs. Snowballs to make change, because the snowballs, they would not melt the same easy as the snowflakes. That's why project portfolio. Okay, we needed to train it a little bit. Okay. Yeah, sorry, Dan. Next time. So, but snowballs, yeah. So learning based on experimentation and doing. So we need to experiment, make small experimentation and change and test and learn and reflect and learn again. And experiment. And then also we need to monitor and measure impact. And what I've learned, I'm learning a lot from all of you, from Dan and from Lars. What I've learned from Lars that we often measure the impact of tangibles, these things that we've got. But we are not so good on measuring processes, how good processes we're building. So I hope you touch on that more. Okay, and then again to inspiring people and to thinking about from Indy Johar, thinking about the system innovation and iceberg. Because when we're talking about innovation and the new things that are happening, what we see is something on the top of the iceberg is innovative solutions, technologies, new systems. We're thinking about new infrastructure that we see. We see also actors and their networks. We see partnership. We see all of us. But basically what we don't see is very, very important. So we don't see all these financial instruments, policies, that would make necessary change possible. So what we need to do, and the mission, why we do it, so what we need to do within Viable City is to turn this iceberg and also to work not only with this we see, but also with policies, financial instruments, and to make visible movement towards climate sustainability, climate targets. Yeah, so we are a member organization. You are coming from this quadruple helix, from government, public, universities, industries, civil society. And it's not easy to work with civil society. We have two members here, and we need to work more on that. And it's we are very humble. We don't know how, but we need to learn. So social innovation is important. So we're trying to work with our portfolio, looking for synergy between those projects that we are funding. You're very welcome to look at our yearly report at our website and try our visualization instrument and talk to my colleague, Charlie Gullström, who is our research and design strategist and working with development of this platform. And the most exciting thing that has happened is our call for proposal that called Carbon Neutral Cities 2030, Good Life for All Within Planetary Boundaries. And there we want to create, make acceleration towards carbon neutrality and change. So our idea is that cities, in collaboration with industry and academia, would change the way they work with carbon neutrality. They would create innovation teams that are with people who are working in different departments and that start to work together. So they would make a real action plan. So how can we be carbon neutral already 2030? And then also they start experimentation. But this would be not so interesting if we would not, if we would not have a joint work package. So we can call it for a platform for learning and experimentation. So the cities are co-owners in this consortium. They together should specify the missions, they identify needs, and formulate experiments. So this joint movement is the most important, is what we are building, and we want to call it something nice. So yesterday I've heard about Change Lab, and we have dark matter labs, and we are collaborating with many different labs. So the task to you, or the kind of the ask for help, please come up with a good lab word for us. What are we? We cannot be Change Lab. We cannot be, I don't know, dark matter lab, but some lab we should be and build it together. Okay, but the thinking is that, okay, it will be some cities that are prepared to change. It will be this joint work, this lab, accelerator lab, I don't know. But then there are so many other initiatives, and we don't want to create more of the snowflakes. That's why, and we don't want to create the losers, those municipalities that don't have maybe capacity yet to be one of those cities that will get funding. So we want to be able to connect this development, the cities, to this joint work, to the lab, but also some other initiative centers, a center of sustainable consumption and so on. So to create a platform, to create the snowballs, the large snowballs for change. So I would finalize with something that I learned yesterday. And we are learning all the time, and this is the most important. This is actually from Benny as director of Stand for Change Lab that I told about. So he's talking about complex system changes and system acupuncture. And then what he says that if we want to have system transformation to challenges that are scaled, complex, multidimensional, and urgent, then you need to have new tools and methods to do it. And then the thing is that if we want to have change and we have a limited funds and we have limited capacities, then we need to find and think about having 5 needles for acupuncture, and we need to have those 5 different priorities or things that we need to change to make it to make systems transform from one state to another. So what are the and this is very important for us because we need to have a priority. We are programmed with funds, but then we need to make a priority, and we need to find the way to facilitate the system change, and those we need to find those tasks that we can be catalyzers. So this was kind of help us today, and I'm very thankful you are here to find those points to change, help us with the name for the lab, and design with us the program from the program future. Thank you very much.